I made a spreadsheet of things that I'm thinking about will happen at the Pokemon Presents next week. And I'm making this large font so it's easier to read. So there are a couple of things that I'm very confident that we are going to see. And I think that these are all like slam dunks. And when I say slam dunks, I mean they're like a 20% chance, right? That's what I think. It's like a 20% chance. We're probably going to see it. It's very, very likely we're going to see it. But very, very likely with predictions is very different than with statistics, right? So like, if it's not shown, I will be surprised. But also like, it's a video game company, you know? But things that I'm confident that we'll see. Pokemon Legends ZA, I think is a slam dunk. I don't think that it's been way too long since we've seen anything from that. It's been a year since the last Pokemon Day. So that one's a slam dunk for me. I think we're very likely going to see that. Another thing that I'm very confident that we're going to see is an update for Pokemon Sleep. Pokemon Sleep, although not doing incredibly well in the West, has been doing very, very well in Japan. And so as a Japanese focused company, I do think Pokemon Sleep will have some feature, some upgrade, some news update in Pokemon Sleep. There will be something in the Pokemon Presents for sure. New Mega Evolutions, I hope so. This is mine with 3 heads and 6 arms. That would be cursed enough for me to hate it even more. So yeah, that makes sense. Another thing that I think that we will see that I think is also pretty obvious. I do think we'll see a Pokemon Go update. I think that there will be something for Pokemon Go, whether we want it to be or not. They'll talk about the event that's going on. That's that weekend. There's a Unova Go tour happening next Saturday and Sunday. That is usually the best free-to-play event of the year. So like, if you don't want to spend money in Pokemon Go, which I don't know anybody that does anymore, but like, that's also a thing that I think will go. I do think that Pokemon TCG Pocket will have its own section. I do think that also, talking about mobile games, that Pokemon Masters EX will also have a section. So those are the things for sure. These are 100%, not 100%, very, very confident that I think we're going to see. Legends ZA for sure, Pokemon Sleep, Pokemon Go, TCG Pocket, Masters EX, and I do think there will be a Scarlet and Violet raid update or something to the effect. There'll be some kind of like new raid, new Terra battle that they'll do. So that these things I think we'll very likely see, right? Very likely see. They still do those? They do. They actually just did an Executor one, I think, last month. Yeah, we'll see. BDSP, although it was a fan perceived disaster, it did sell well. So we'll see. Things that I believe have a good chance of showing up. So these are things that I think have a good chance of showing up, that I believe have a good chance of showing up. But like, arm shrug, right? If it doesn't show up, I wouldn't be surprised. That's kind of where this is at. If it doesn't show up, I wouldn't be surprised. One thing that I think is a Pokemon Unite update that is essentially a TFT clone. So for folks that don't know, there has been a TFT clone of Pokemon Unite in beta access in China only for about a month and a half. And so I think that there's a chance that they're going to release it and shadow drop it as an update for the entire world for folks to be able to play. Because it's been in beta for a while now, and it seems like it's pretty balanced at this point from what I've seen, from the footage I've seen. So it looks like there's going to be an auto battler with Pokemon that's coming out that's specifically a side clone of Pokemon Unite. So I think that would make it a mobile only, probably, if I had to hedge a bet, but we'll have to see. And the Pokken 2, yeah, that's where it's going to go. I tell you what, Jason, I'll put it in there for you right now, just for you. Pokken Tournament 2, smile. That's the other thing. I do think that there is a chance that we see a new gen announcement, because it'll have been 3 years in November since we've had a Pokemon game. That's usually the split between the two. So I do think that there's a chance we're going to see a new gen announcement. It's going to be like we have one more thing to show you, and it's just the teaser for a new gen. I do think that there's a chance for that. I also think that there's a small chance that we see the Gen 2 games on NSO. This isn't the things I'm hopeful for. I think that of all of the games, that currently exist in the entire like history of Pokemon, right? You can play Kanto on the Switch. You can play Sinnoh on the Switch. You can't play Unova on the Switch just yet. You can't play Kalos on the Switch just yet, but Kalos is getting a Legends game, right? Kalos is getting a Legends game, so there is going to be some level of Kalos available on the Switch. Gen 7, Sun and Moon, you can't play, but it's on the 3DS at least, right? So it's not far removed, but it is removed. And then obviously Gen 8, Gen 9, those are both exist on the Switch, right? I think that Pokemon will continue because they've done this in the past, where they've continued to make sure that their old games evolve with the systems that are being released. And when I say that, what I mean is when Gen 1 was no longer available on the Game Boy Advance, they made Fire Red and Leaf Green. When Gen 2 was no longer available, they made Heart Gold and Soul Silver. When Gen 3 was no longer available, they made Alpha Ruby and Omega Sapphire. Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. I said that backwards. Sorry. And so they've done a good job of trying to keep their games up to date and available. And I don't think the thing that I'm hopeful for is going to happen. So I think that this is the more likely of the two scenarios where if they wanted to make sure that their games existed on the platform, bringing the Gen 2 games to NSO makes a lot of sense. And also, it allows them to then have the games available so that if they wanted that interaction between their NSO GBA or NSO Game Boy and NSO N64, they could make these games work on the Pokemon Stadium games. And that would be something interesting. So, again, I don't think it's very likely. I just think that it's something that could exist. It's something that would then sell some more expansion packs for NSO because you need the expansion pack to play the N64 games. I really want to Let's Go Johto. Like, badly. I want to Let's Go Johto. And I agree with you, Baku, that I think it would just print money. Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee sold pretty well for what is considered like a spin-off game, right? It sold pretty well. And I'm shocked that in like, 8 years? I think it's been 8 years since that game came out. They have not made a sequel. When that game basically just printed money for them to have the same exact formula that Gen 1 had with like Pokemon Go mechanics, right? Like, who cares? That was just a slam dunk, right? It got people to buy accessories for Pokemon Go. It got people to play Pokemon Go. And like, what way do you drive more people back to the Pokemon Go platform ahead of what's going to be one of their biggest events next week? Then you just announce a new Let's Go game and you drive more people back to the platform. 7 years ago, gotcha. Yeah, they could redo Pikachu and Eevee. You're right. They could just do Let's Go Pikachu 2. And it's just a continuation in Year in Johto. And people would people would go nuts over that. Yeah, see, 15 million copies isn't bad. It's not great for Pokemon sales specifically. Pokemon usually gets between like the 20 and 25 range, but 15 million is good. Obviously, I don't have to tell anybody that, right? But 15 million is good. So another thing that I'm hopeful for, but I don't think is going to happen. I just don't. I'm really hopeful that we get the Pokemon pinball games on the NSO. I don't think that that's going to happen, truthfully. I just think that that's something that would also be very simple and something that a lot of folks enjoy, whether it's the one that was on the Game Boy Color or the one that was on the Game Boy Advance. Both of them are fun, and I'd like to see them, but like, probably not going to happen. Right? Probably not going to happen. In terms of a whole bunch of the other stuff, there's a lot of things that I'm hopeful for that I don't think have a chance. I'll just be honest. So no chance. I'm going to put a DS NSO, smile, because that obviously doesn't have to do with Pokemon, but like Pokemon was a large driver for the DS. So like that would be a really cool way to announce, you know, Pokemon's going to have a there's going to be a DS NSO. Pokemon Stadium 3 was also a good one that'll be on here for sure. Puzzle League 2, I don't think is very likely. The other no chance thing that I'm kind of hoping for is more Mystery Dungeon. So whether that's a brand new game, like a brand new Mystery Dungeon, or a port of one of the other games, like Explorers of Sky, I think is one. I'd like to see more Mystery Dungeon, but I don't think it's very likely. And then a new Pokemon Snap game. I thought that the last Pokemon Snap game went really well. I thought it was a very good game. I think it sold relatively well for it being what it was. Hey there, YouTube. Gary from the future here as a little yapper because I haven't gotten like presentable, so I'm not going to be on camera. So what I meant by sold relatively well for Pokemon Snap, because I feel like there might be some questions there. The reason why I said it sold relatively well is I feel like most of the spin-off games for Pokemon, meaning like the Explorer games, the Pokemon Snaps, Pokemon Pinballs, etc. I would argue that most of the issue with the sales figures on those games tends to lean into the marketing side of things, right? Where like Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, the mainline Pokemon games, even like the Let's Go games, which were mostly Pokemon Go mechanics, I feel like those got a lot more marketing to try to reach their target audience, where like Pokemon Snap kind of got slotted into a Pokemon Presents. It was just there, right? And people knew about it. And the folks who were really excited about Pokemon Snap were just like, oh, sick. Yeah, a new Pokemon Snap game. And it sold, right? It's like 3 million copies. And 3 million copies, for the record, is not bad, right? But for Pokemon in general, it's not great, right? So that's kind of what I meant by relatively well. I just wanted to like insert really quick and kind of give my feedback of what I meant by that statement, because it was a little ambiguous, and I just wanted to make sure that it was clear. So appreciate y'all watching, though. If you have been enjoying the video, make sure you like and leave a comment, subscribe if you're interested. We're on our way to 1,000 subscribers, and we're almost there. And let me know down below. Let me know what you think. Let me know what your predictions are for Pokemon Presents, what you think is the most likely thing to show up, or what your wish list items are. I'd love to hear from you. Appreciate y'all watching, and now back to the video. And I think that that game has a lot of potential to continue to be successful if they continue producing the content, right? But I don't think that that has a singular chance in hell. So, but yeah, so I wouldn't be shocked if all we saw was this, right? Because this would be a lot, right? This would be a lot. If they showed all of these things, that would be a lot to showcase for a Pokemon Presents. And so like, and there's also the thing that I forgot to mention. What's the cafe game? Cafe Remix. Yeah, there you go. There you go. That's it. That'll likely be here too. Yeah, that'll likely be here too. The last thing that I'm going to put in No Chance, I'm going to put a Battle Revolution 2 in here, because I think that one is more likely than Stadium 3. But I think having a game that's features focused just on battling, I think has potential in today's market, especially because they're focused so heavily on the competitive side of Pokemon, whether that's in Pokemon Go, the TCG, the actual game. There's been a lot more people interested in regionals. There's been a lot more people interested in worlds. People have been traveling to go to worlds now. Like, it's become a big thing now too, right? So, dude, I didn't even know, what is the Mystery Dungeon Go For It Radiant and Adventure Squad? I didn't even know that existed. I'll be so for real. Rumble, that was it. Thank you. Yes, Pokemon Rumble. Pokemon Rumble, smile. I thought that game was fun. I thought that game was fun. It obviously didn't do very well, but like, and then the very last thing that I'm gonna put on here, the very last thing, and I'm gonna put it all the way down here. Ports of the GameCube games. Listen, I don't think they're ever gonna do it, but the cost on these games has gotten so ridiculous that I really wish that they would port these in some capacity, like just to let us play them again, just to have them available. Pokemon Shuffle, I used to play that on my DS, but I love the GameCube games. For the folks that haven't gotten a chance to play the Pokemon GameCube games, I think they're great. I think they really are great. And I think that there's a world where you can make a game like the GameCube games, and that's why Legends was so popular, right? Because it was something that was a little bit different off the curve of the regular Pokemon formula, but like still had Pokemon in it, right? The Pokemon Versus, yeah. I would love to see, like Jason mentioned earlier, the Pokemon Puzzle League 2. I would love to play a new Puzzle League. Love, 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 love. Oh, like a Vampire Survivors model. That would be cool. That would be cool. But yeah, I think that, again, I think that if the show was just this, I think that this would be a very hefty show and would likely have like a lot of people excited, right? A lot of people excited. Obviously, there's some stuff in here that most of us are not super like concerned about, right? But I think will likely still be in there because people play the game still, so they'll still exist, right? So that's something in there as well. But the if these are in there as well, which this one I do think has a really, I say 5% chance. 5% for these two is fair. I think this is close to 15 for me. The Pokemon Unite. I think this is a pretty good chance that we're gonna see this. But yeah, so this is my list. I think that's probably pretty, you know, fair. I don't think there's going to be a whole lot else that there is likely. So I'm just going to go into it with a pretty fresh, like, open mind. I think the only thing that I really want to see is the Let's Go Johto game, because I like Gen 2 a lot. I really do. And I'd like to be able to explore Gen 2 again. that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at. But yeah, hope everybody enjoyed my little take on it. I'm excited to watch, and obviously I will be, you know, reacting to it live here on Twitch, and I'll also be posting it over on YouTube for the folks that are interested in checking it out over on YouTube. That'll be on YouTube as well.